All right, we are ready. Good morning. We are here from the Board on Public Safety Standards and Training. It's 9 a.m. Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. And we're here at the Governor Victor Giattia Boardroom at DPSST. Just a quick note, as we just heard, this is being live streamed via YouTube. And a quick administrative announcement, and then we'll get into intros and kick this off. This is a public meeting subject to public meeting law, and it will be recorded. Deliberation of issues will only be conducted by board members unless permitted by the chair. Individuals who engage in disruptive behavior that impedes official business will be asked to stop being disruptive or leave the meeting. Additional measures may be taken to have disruptive individuals removed if their continued presence poses a safety risk to other persons in the room or makes it impossible to continue the meeting. With that, I will turn it over to Juan for introductions.
When I call on you, please state your name and who you represent for the record. We'll start with you, Chair Cotting.
Casey Cotting, Oregon State Police.
And then online, we have Vice Chair Heppel.
Chris Heppel for the Oregon Fire Chiefs Association.
Also online, Member Bennett.
Martha Bennett, representing the League of Oregon Cities.
Member Cameron.
Jennifer Cameron, representing non-management cooperation.
Member Gary.
Jack Carrier, representing Oregon Volunteer Firefighters Association.
Member Daniel.
Mark Daniel, representing Oregon Association Chiefs of Police.
Member Fletcher.
Mike Fletcher, representing Oregon APCONENA 911.
Member Johnson.
Lauren Johnson, representing Portland Fire.
Maury Jones, public member.
Member Lindsay.
Dan Lanson, Private Security, Public Safety Investigating Falls Committee.
And then online, we have Member Lynch.
Good morning, Kate Lynch here on behalf of the Oregon District Attorneys Association. My apologies, the Wi-Fi is spotty where I'm at, so I'll have my camera turned off for most of the meeting.
Thank you for letting us know. And then we have Member Morneau online as well. Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Joseph Morneau, Oregon Fire District Directors Association.
Thank you. Member Reese.
Mike Race, Department of Corrections.
Member Reese Temple.
Mariana Reese Temple, Oregon State Fire Marshal.
And Member Willits.
Sam Willits, Non-Management Law Enforcement.
Now for staff introductions, Juan Lopez, Executive Assistant, DPSST. Please.
Stephanie McAlpine, Deputy Director.
Bill Castle, DPSST.
Marie Atwood, Professional Standards Director.
Ben Hamilton, BPSSD.
Jennifer Howell, DPSST. Shelby Alexander, DPSST. Caleb Allrat, DPSST.
Michael Holsapple, DPSST.
Mary, DPSST.
Chris Enquist, DPSST. Robert Wood, Police Policy Committee member. Sam Tenney, DPSST.
And Diane Lugo, reporter for the Statesman Journal.
I believe we also have one additional guest online, Rocky Haynes with the Oregon State Firefighters Council.
Yep, good morning. Rocky Haynes, Oregon State Firefighters Council.
Back to you. Sure.
Okay, thank you. All right, first bit of business here is to approve the October 23rd, 2025 minutes. Want to have a chance to review those, and is there any discussion? Seeing none, do we need a consensus?
We'll be voting.
Oh, okay.
So we're voting to approve the October 23rd, 2025 meeting minutes. Chair Connie.
Aye.
Oh, so sorry. Okay.
Mark Daniel, for the record, move to approve.
Thank you.
Mike Fletcher, second.
Out of myself, I'm so sorry. Chair Connie.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heppel.
Aye.
Member Bennett.
Aye.
Member Cameron.
Aye.
Member Carriger.
Aye.
Member Daniel.
Aye.
Member Fletcher.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Jones.
Aye.
Member Lambert.
Yes.
Member Lynch.
Aye.
Member Morneau.
Aye.
Member Reese.
Aye.
Member Temple.
Aye.
And Member Willett.
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay, we'll move into committees, and first up is Fire Policy Committee, and Chris Heppel, if you can give the update.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, Chris Heppel, Oregon Fire Chiefs Association. I personally don't have any updates specifically, but I will pass it to Kayla if she has any updates from the fire section, and also we'll have one correction on the consent agenda before we move to the vote.
Oh, no further updates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chair, again, Chris Supple for the record, just one piece to note, and I appreciated DPSST staff just sending out the update. When it comes to the action component on the consent agenda, on the original agenda, it said take no action. Please note there was an updated agenda that went out to reflect the proper, which should have been a take action, which is also reflected in your board packet. And that's all I have, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair. We are looking for a motion on the consent agenda for fire policy, item A.
Item A in the consent agenda.
Jack Carrier, second.
I think we're voting on a motion to approve the Fire Policy Committee consent agenda, item A. Chair Conley.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heppel.
Aye.
Member Bennett.
Aye.
Member Cameron.
Aye.
Member Carriger.
Aye.
Member Daniel.
Aye.
Member Fletcher.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Jones.
Aye.
Member Lenzen.
Aye.
Member Lynch.
Aye.
Member Morneau.
Aye.
Member Reese.
Aye.
Member Reese.
Aye.
And Member Willis.
Aye.
Motion.
Okay, up next is Police Policy Committee update, and Chair Scotty Nowning is not with us today, so I will do my best to provide a quick update. November 20th, we met here at DPSST. We heard 4 cases and took action on 2. I think that is the extent of that meeting. Anything else, Chief?
That's it.
Okay, and up next, we'll move into telecommunications update. Mr. Fletcher.
Good morning. TPC last met on November 5th. It too was a short session with a small agenda. The committee reviewed 1 discretionary case and voted to take no action. The only other business was the committee was needed to make a nomination for a member from Telecom to the applicant review committee. And for some reason, Telecom voted me to continue my disciplinary sentence to remain on the applicant. We meet again, February. Thank you.
Sir. Corrections Policy Committee, Jennifer Cameron.
Good morning. CPC met on November 12th. We reviewed 7 cases. One case we had to have another meeting on December 16th. So between that, it was the 7 cases. 4 of them, we recommended lifetime ineligibility. 2 were 10 years and 1 was 3 years. We also had discussed a revision request for parole and probation, which the committee approved. That's about it.
Okay, thank you for the committee updates. We're looking for a vote on consent agenda items A through L for the different policy.
Mark Daniel for the record. So moved.
Mike Fletcher, will second.
Right, we're voting to approve the Criminal Justice Policy Committee's consent agenda, items A through M, I believe it was.
We're gonna break M out, so right now it's just through L.
Oh, perfect. A through L. So Chair Cotty.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heppel.
Aye.
Member Bennett.
Aye.
Member Cameron.
Aye.
Member Carriger.
Aye.
Member Daniel.
Aye.
Member Fletcher.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Jones.
Aye.
Member Lenzen.
Aye.
Member Lynch.
Aye.
Member Morneau.
Aye.
Member Reese.
Aye.
Member Semple.
Aye.
And Member Willis. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to belabor this and break it out, but I did want to just take a quick moment on these committee appointments, item M, and recognize Anna Sarek for a second term effective January 25th. Sheriff Michelle Duncan also in a second term, January 25th, and welcome Chief Warren Hisney for a first term on the 22nd of January. So with that, I think are we full or we're still down one position?
Still one.
Okay, but that's
That
not
should
bad.
be resolved here.
Yeah. So considering those committee appointments, looking for a motion and a second.
Jack Carriger, so moved.
Jennifer Cameron, I'll second.
Thank you.
Voting on a motion to approve item M in the Criminal Justice Policy Committee's consent agenda. Chair Potty? Aye. Vice Chair Heppel?
Aye.
Member Bennett?
Aye.
Member Cameron?
Aye.
Member Carriger?
Aye.
Member Daniel?
Aye.
Member Fletcher?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Jones?
Aye.
Member Lenzen?
Aye.
Member Lynch?
Aye.
Member Morneau?
Aye.
Member Reese?
Aye.
Member Reese Temple?
Aye.
And Member Willetts? Motion carried.
Okay, up next, Private Security Investigator Policy Committee. Chair Lindsay.
Thank you, Chair. As I turn my chair so everyone can see my notes. Our committee met on November 18 and unanimously approved proposed rule changes related to emergency suspensions. This information is being presented today in today's meeting. The Private Investigator Subcommittee also met earlier on that day with two members. They reviewed a case involving a PI applicant and eligibility for licensure. This case will be reviewed at the next policy committee. HB 2183 work group concluded on November 20th. The program has drafted OARs, which will be presented to that committee at our next meeting, and HB 2183 requires DPSST to adopt rules recognizing prior law enforcement experience toward meeting training requirements for the private security professional certification. Both the PI and OARs supporting House Bill 2183 will be addressed at our next meeting. We had two members term out and certificates of appreciation were presented to members Ken Berg and Alex Stone for their service, and they've been amazing at giving good information and supporting the system. Program updates covered quarterly compliance and training statistics, staffing changes, curriculum and website updates, and progress on the new database project, which is likely to include a fee increase. The next meeting is scheduled for the 17th of February at 1:30 p.m., which is Fat Tuesday, by the way. We are hopeful for a quorum as membership is currently down and recruitment for vacancies is ongoing, and it is Fat Tuesday. Just saying.
Sir, thank you for that thorough report. Looking for motion and second consent agenda item A. I will make a motion.
I'll second it. Lauren Johnson.
We're voting to approve the Private Security Investigator Policy Committee consent agenda, item A. Chair Connie?
Aye.
Vice Chair Heppel?
Aye.
Member Bennett?
Aye.
Member Cameron?
Aye.
Member Carriger?
Aye.
Member Daniel?
Aye.
Member Fletcher?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Jones?
Aye.
Member Lenzen?
Aye.
Member Lynch?
Aye.
Member Morneau?
Aye.
Member Reese?
Aye.
Member Reese Temple?
Aye.
And Member Will.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, up next, we're going to hear a few different topics from DPSST, and each one of these is going to need a vote. So, who's that?
Chris.
Yes.
Do I have a speaker chair? It's like I have an open one.
This,
Yeah, that one works for me.
Good morning, people online. My name is Chris Enquist. I serve as the Training Division Director here at DPSST. For this first item of the three I'm going to carry today, I'm speaking for myself in the Training Division. I'm also carrying the item for Jared Rayburn, who's the Dean out of the Center for Policing Excellence, the Curriculum and Research Unit. So there's a lot going on in this, but I think I can speak to it at a pretty high level and we can break it down if there's questions. This is generally a housekeeping action on the basic police curriculum. So if we roll back the clock to about 2019, we had the phased implementation changes for basic police. Those set a number of things in motion. Following that, we rolled out the 60-person template and a number of things kind of happened within the curriculum during that time. The memo lays it out, but I'm going to speak to the first one on the list alphabetically is active threat, and it's a really good example of kind of what all these changes look like. During that phased implementation, we implemented the skills lab curriculum within basic police. Those were 10 hours of curriculum that were focused on kind of being multidisciplinary and giving students an opportunity to apply skills from multiple different training tracks in one venue. Staff landed on, and the board gave us a lot of latitude with what we did with those. One of the topics we picked to focus in on was active threat. So we took the active threat based curriculum and we used a skills lab to kind of amplify that because active threat training really does pull in a lot of other tactical considerations. We're at a point now where we've done that enough where we feel it just would be better to kind of be a little more transparent with the curriculum and allot those hours to active threat by title, if that makes sense. They'll still have the same goals, hours, and outcomes that have been previously established. We're just kind of transferring the delivery from the silo of skills lab over to active threat. So you can see it, kind of matched there. It's a 4-hour transfer. The active threat session kind of tracks that. And then down in the bottom of the slate, the skills lab is reduced by the same amount of hours. There are several other changes in here, some related to kind of reconceptualizing some lab sessions versus like curriculum and delivery in like a classroom setting. But generally, this is just our offer to kind of put out to this group for comment or question, because there are a lot of impacted topics here. Generally, well, I shouldn't say generally, all of them adhere to previously approved board goals and outcomes. It's the hours buckets that are really being transferred. So if anyone has questions about any of these, I'm happy to kind of speak to them. Otherwise, the pace for this would be we would return to police policy committee at the next cycle and kind of lay this out as a formal revision. Then it would come back through this group at your next cycle with a rule change to kind of mash it up on curriculum. Any questions on that?
Seeing none, thank you.
That means the next one. So I have two fee schedule proposals. I'm going to walk through them one at a time, but I think I'll open it with just kind of a general overview of both of them. So the first one up is regional. Fee schedule concepts are challenging. Like I'll just open with that right there. Staff have taken this seriously. This is not the first time DPSST has brushed against this concept, particularly on the use of campus facilities, but we've discussed it at least internally regarding regional previously as well. And every time our focus has always been, what's the impact on constituents? Like, what does this actually do to the people that use facility or use our services? With that said, I'll take my time to kind of walk through them one at a time and talk through kind of the operational needs that are driving them, because there's two very different drivers between both of these, despite the fact that memos look pretty substantially similar. But starting with regional. As most of you know, this is limited to the criminal justice regional program, right? So the law enforcement facing one. Our regional team, as I think as people know, delivers training across the state, often in remote areas. We've seen an uptick in issues really centering around no-shows. So, if we run a handgun instructor program in Enterprise or in Redmond or an EVOC instructor program at Bachelor, those are remote trainings. They often have a substantial wait list of people looking to get into them. Consistently, if we run a handgun instructor course that's rostered at 12, we'll be sitting on 8 or 10 people waitlisted for that course. Over the last 2 years, we've seen a gradual increase in no-shows. That becomes just a really significant operational impediment for us, right? If we're running that handgun program in Enterprise, we have staff committed to it. And if people no-show on day one, it's not like we can pull people off that wait list and get them there. And it's also not really feasible for us to downstaff that program and run it thinner, right? Instructors already have assignments, leads are already in place. We considered alternatives to this. The first alternative we considered was like a deposit model. It seems like that would be a way to solve it. I'm certainly open to discussion on it. The biggest barrier we saw there was just the administrative cost, both for our staff and for local agencies of, transferring a pot of money, holding it a deposit, and then returning it to agency when students attend. So what we have before you today is at least a concept. And again, this is just approval to study this. So the draft fee schedule there is simply that. It's kind of just a representative of kind of what we're thinking, but generally a nominal fee, right? If you care to look at the fee schedule, you'll see, they're not significant from our view. Classroom training session would be a $50 registration fee. A skills training session would be a $100 registration fee. These aren't the type of fees that would ever come close to recovering the cost of our services, but the hope is that they could serve as some kind of speed bump on those no-shows. It would be impactful though. And so we do have some conceptual concepts laid in here about some type of waiver process for hardship. The best example I can use on a past thing we've done, about 3 years ago, we changed our practice. We used to provide ammunition for all students that attended our programs. At that time, we changed it to putting that expectation on the local agency to provide. And we put a mechanism in place of, if coming up with 1,200 rounds of ammunition, it was a hardship for your agency, submit a memo to us, we'll review it, and we'll consider a variance on that. Conceptually, that's kind of what we're thinking we would do with this as well. We'd establish these registration fees, but still create an avenue there for low resource jurisdictions or jurisdictions that are feeling hardship to just simply submit a memo and tell us, if the only barrier to your student getting effective training is a $50 registration, we can consider a waiver on that. So process for both of these, I think they would move if both approved on a similar path, but we'll isolate to regional first. The approval action on this one would simply be just approving us to proceed with a more formal study. And in addition to a vote, I do need some feedback potentially. With this impacting multiple disciplines, there's a path where we could proceed on bringing that study recommendations forward through TPC, the CPC, the PPC, right? Go through all policy committees, or we could simply return to this group with those recommendations. So I think as part of the approval, I certainly wouldn't mind some guidance on what you'd prefer. If you'd like to see them roll through the policy committees for feedback, we certainly can do that. We could also just bring them back here. In either case, we'd reach out to constituents as part of that study and get feedback on what the impact would be.
Question. Mariana Reese Temple, State Fire Marshal. Is this in the fire committee also, or all regional? I think it's just on law enforcement.
I'm only bringing forward on the law enforcement regional training side at this point. That's where we've seen the largest issue and impact in terms of no-shows.
Yeah, follow up. I would just say, across the board for years, we've heard that this is a problem that can impact DPSST. So I appreciate you bringing it forward here, regardless of discipline. And as long as constituents are involved, especially in our most rural communities that are impacted by these kinds of things, I think that would be really, really wise. But I just appreciate you guys bringing it here as a study, because I know it's something that we've been talking about in all committees, frankly, about those no-shows. So thank you.
Any thoughts on running it through committees or bringing it back to the board?
Jack Carriger, I think it'd be a good idea to run it through the committees.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so we're looking for a vote to run it through committees and then bring it forward to the board.
I'll make a motion, Lauren Johnson, that we run it through the committee.
Mark Daniel, second.
To run the implementation of a fee schedule for registration to regional training courses back to the policy committees. Chair Cotty?
Aye.
Vice Chair Hempel?
Aye.
Member Bennett?
Aye.
Member Cameron?
Aye.
Member Carriger?
Aye.
Member Daniel?
Aye.
Member Fletcher?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Jones?
Aye.
Member Lenza?
Yes.
Member Lynch?
Aye.
Member Morneau?
Aye.
Member Reese?
Aye.
Member Reese?
Aye.
And Member Willetts? Motion carried.
Thank you. My last item is another study on fee implementation, but this one is facing this campus. So this last item for me is focused on a facility use fee concept. The process would be the same that we discussed with regional. Again, I I'm hearing that we'll likely roll that through policy committees, but I need that recommendation. But the driver on this is very different than regional, right? With regional having the no-show issue, that's certainly not an issue here. It's quite the opposite. External use of the campus remains very high with constituent agencies. Also, just for point of order, again, this is only facing criminal justice agencies, so the law enforcement side of training. Most of you likely have an awareness, but when an external agency uses the campus, they do so under an agreement. If they cause immediate damage in the course of training, there's a process in place with that transfers liability and recoups cost. What we're starting to see, though, is all the small stuff, right? That wear and tear. Probably the best example of this would be use of the track. If an agency is using the track and they wreck a car or damage, with a lane change, that's very easy for us to recover. But as we approach a point where we're starting to see a need to resurface the track, we're not really recouping anything on that ongoing use. That extends through the village, into classrooms, into the defensive tactics building. All the venues have it, but I think EVO is just a really good snapshot of what the problem is. Same issues with fees for regional. Like, I understand the impact. Staff have certainly considered that. And we've laid out what we hope is, again, this is a draft fee usage, but a pretty conservative usage rate. It looks very similar to regional, with classrooms sitting at a $50 per day of use. But it does get more significant when you roll into some of the skills venues. The technical equipment in there, maintenance of that, and upkeep is more substantial. So you see that move up into $100 a day per use conceptual for skills, $250 per day for the track, and then an equipment storage fee of $50 per use. Just like with regional, we would lay out a process here for like a hardship waiver. But there's also a process that we have conceptual in here, the study would flesh out. We would look to kind of generally exempt agencies that have a standing like intergovernmental or IAA agreement with us, with the idea being that they would just work into their, whenever they re-up or establish a new agreement, there would be a pathway for entities to simply kind of be exempted blanket from these fees. If they're entering into an agreement, then we would probably see some kind of remuneration or in-kind reimbursement in terms of loaned instructors through that process, if that makes sense, or use of facilities. And we have that in place with several other state agencies currently. So this would really fall to the entities that choose to use the campus, but on a very sporadic basis. Different law enforcement agencies look different. Some use this facility on almost a monthly basis, and some are using it maybe once a year. So the fees would likely over time subset into something where it's really that sporadic use that would be falling into this category. And the entities that are making routine use would probably see the value of just entering into a formal IGA or IA with us, and we'll resolve it that way. But again, it is a well-intended effort to try and recover some of the costs that come from wear and tear and hopefully mitigate the impact as part of the process.
Phil Cast for the record. I just want to add into, and great job, Chris. Thank you for presenting this today. I just want to add into this a little bit. DPSST is the largest state training facility in the country right now. We will be soon eclipsed by Tennessee, who's standing up an 800-acre facility. But we're also a 20-year-old facility, and we're starting to have 20-year-old problems and needing 20-year-old maintenance on our facilities. And as any state agency, we are always challenged with budgets, particularly in these times. Our track is of big concern. That track is going to need to be resurfaced. That is unbelievably expensive. And this agency has, very rough numbers, about $12 million worth of upgrades and fixes that need to happen, just basic maintenance. And this biennium, we have about $3.2 million to work with to do that. So we need to take measures to keep this facility operating at peak. And we're going to need support to do that. And we'll be talking to individual agencies to get their support, i.e. with loans and things like that. Those are really important that tradition kind of come back. So appreciate you bringing this forward. I just kind of wanted to click out to go a little bit high level on this before Chris continues.
I think that's all I have, unless there's questions.
Maury Jones, public member. Who's the other entities? I know you guys all know, but.
Yeah, I could certainly explain on that. It really is a wide gamut. So any of your like traditional law enforcement agencies, that's very easy to think of, like the public safety agencies, those primary constituents. We see wide use, and that ranges from local sheriff's office to police departments. It also extends into some areas that we might forget. So like just a good example to call out, not that they're a driver of cost, but the judicial marshals. Right. The judiciary has a judicial marshals branch that's responsible for court security and personal security of the justices. they facilitate a 1-week training every year that's focused on giving local correctional deputies experience and training related to courtroom security and prisoner transport. Those are things that aren't covered in the basic academy, largely because that resource exists. But that's an entity that, they're pulling a week or two of use on an annual basis. And so, we've got these entities that make those big bulk uses. Then we also have municipalities around here that are, routinely booking out the track on weekends around basic training, but still utilizing the facility, 10 weekends out of maybe a 3-month period. Right. So, some of that use is pretty constant and pressured.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mike Reese for the record. I'm curious about the funding mechanism of this. Will it be as part of this proposal, are you looking at a capital account? And will that account carry over biennium to biennium so that it's not just lost in the general fund and going to routine expenses, but actually directed towards maintenance of the facility?
Yeah, that's good. And maybe it's worth a step back on the regional front. So the regional fee collection, again, it's conceptual with the study. That's likely funding that would be utilized operationally within the fiscal cycle. So it would live over in that territory. This is funding that I think generally would be viewed to solve the problem in the future Phil's describing, right? This isn't going to solve a $6 million gap. But yes, right now, talking to business services, depending on kind of how we structure this, the money would route to facilities and probably move into some type of accounting structure that would be the hope.
Thank you.
Casey Connie, for the record, you might have mentioned this, but what is the timeline of implementation? Will you give entities time to prepare for this in their own budgets if it is significant enough?
I think we'd probably look to the study to give guidance on that. Right now, my thought is this is probably on a timeline to land in the next biennium. My gut says that most entities are going to want a little bit of runway to prepare for the changes. I think formally we'd wait to kind of conduct the study, connect with constituents and gather that feedback. But that's kind of where I think we would likely land is a phased implementation.
I have a question, Chris. Jennifer Cameron. My question is, if we start fees and we build this account, sometimes then the monies that we're guaranteed now may be cut back because they see there's another account. So that's just something I hope wouldn't happen, but something to consider. I know things are short now, and I'm not saying, but in the future, are we going to get less money through these other funds that we currently get money because we're starting to charge fees for use to some agencies and stuff? So.
Yeah, I think there's certainly a risk there. I think both with regional and with this, the fee collection, the last biennium cycle, we had about 1,900 events on campus. Training events. That's a little hard to break down because some of those requests are requesting multiple days. If you do the quick math on what this is, it does land in a potentially sizable pot of money, but it is not, budget fixing or budget breaking. Okay. And so my thought is that it's pretty likely that we would expend that within each fiscal cycle, likely on smaller fixes to free budget for the bigger fixes, if that makes sense.
Yep. So follow up, Mariana Reese Temple, Member Cameron, what you're saying is potentially if we now have dedicated funding, the ability to secure general funding can teeter-totter, and that does happen. Right. As an agency that has dedicated funding. But to your point, I just think it's important that we're all looking at that, but to your point, you're really trying to recoup that gap of the wear and tear. And I'm speaking from a fire perspective, and fire is funded differently, but it could have future implications, right, on how we look at that. So I'm stating the obvious, but I think that as you look at fees, just being real with our constituents and the real need so that fee schedule and the city can support like what the gap is and what the need is important. And you have a really good case anyway in the budget process for the need.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's look for a motion and a second to approve study implementation of fee schedule for use of DPSST facilities.
Jack Carriger, so moved.
Lauren.
Second.
All right, we're voting to approve to study an implementation of a fee schedule for DPSST facilities. Chair Cotting.
Aye.
Vice Chair Apple.
Aye.
Member Bennett.
Aye.
Member Cameron.
Aye.
Member Carriger.
Aye.
Member Daniel.
Aye.
Member Fletcher,
Aye.
Member Johnson,
Aye.
Member Jones,
Aye.
Member Lenzen,
Aye.
Member Lynch,
Aye.
Member Morneau,
Aye.
Member Reese,
Aye.
Member Reese Temple,
Aye.
and Member Will.
Aye.
Motion carried.
One clarification point, I guess, for me for the record. I think it was implicit, but this would also route through policy committees for feedback and follow-up.
Okay, up next, proposed rule changes.
Take a little more elbow room. I like to spread out. Good morning, Jennifer Howell for the record. So this next item, D, is proposed rule changes for Oregon Administrative Rule 259-008-001. And this is a recommendation to repeal this administrative rule that is titled Board and Department Policies for the Impacts of COVID-19. So for background, DPSST adopted this rule in 2020. The rule was adopted to address some of the longer term impacts of the COVID-19 emergency, as it was having an effect on completing maintenance training requirements in a timely fashion and being able to enroll students within the required statutory timeframes. This specific rule affected standards for corrections officers, emergency medical dispatchers, parole and probation officers, police officers, regulatory specialists, and telecommunicators. So the rule directed DPSST to use discretion where permissible through statute and rule. And the key component was that it allowed DPSST to postpone any punitive measures. So any enforcement of the requirement. So with maintenance, we wouldn't move to suspending someone's certification because they hadn't yet met the timeline. They were still required to complete all of the training requirements. We just weren't taking punitive action when the deadline occurred. There were assumed COVID-19 extensions for that because it really impacted the ability to organize training and send large groups of people through training and all those types of things. The administrative rules included expiration dates for that discretionary authority, for applying that discretionary authority. So for your consideration today, DPSST is recommending repeal of this administrative rule 259-008-001. The action to repeal the rule will delete the rule in its entirety. Repealing the rule aligns with DPSST's ongoing efforts to ensure administrative rules reflect current operational needs and statutory authority. Number one, the state is no longer operating under COVID-19 emergency status. The discretionary authority has expired based on those expiration dates provided in the rule. And we've already had the opportunity to remove other COVID-19 provisions from other divisions such as fire and private security. Repealing the rule does not have a fiscal impact. So with that, if the board votes to approve repeal of the rule, DPSST will submit that as a proposed rule change to the Secretary of State. There will be the public comment period. And as long as there are no substantive comments affecting the repeal of the rule, DPSST would then proceed with the final action based on your approval today. There's an action item on page 2, and the board would need to make a motion, a second, and vote to approve repeal of the rule. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Jennifer. Motion?
Virginia, for the record, I move to repeal the rule. I will, it's on second.
All right, we're voting to approve the proposed rule changes for Oregon Administrative Rules 259-008-0001, recommended repeal. Chair Cotting?
Aye.
Vice Chair Heppel?
Aye.
Member Bennett?
Aye.
Member Cameron?
Aye.
Member Carriger?
Aye.
Member Daniel?
Aye.
Member Fletcher?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Jones?
Aye.
Member Lenson is not present right now. Member Lynch?
Aye.
Member Morneau?
Aye.
Member Reese?
Aye.
Member Reese Temple?
Aye.
And Member Williams. Motion carried.
Thank you. Jennifer Howell for the record. This next one is the proposed administrative rule changes for Oregon Administrative Rules 259-030-0005. So with this one, this is recommending approval of the permanent adoption of this administrative rule. As you know, the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training is a state agency, and it's responsible for the operation of the Oregon Public Safety Academy. The Academy is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week residential training facility that serves public safety professionals from across the state. And the director is the administrative head of the agency. Last year, DPSST identified a need to clarify and reinforce the director's existing authorities for managing safety, security, and operational decisions, particularly response to emergencies, adverse weather, or other urgent circumstances. To address this, DPSST initiated rulemaking to adopt a rule that would formalize and reinforce those directors' existing authorities to implement policies, procedures, and directives supporting safe and effective operation of the academy and training activities. So this was done through Oregon Administrative Rule 259-030-0005. And the proposal is to permanently adopt it as a new administrative rule. The rule text was included in pages 3 and 4 of your memo. It draws from statutory language and provides additional scope and meaning for the phrase administration and management of the agency. On August 27th, 2025, DPSST met with the executive committee of the board and requested the executive committee approve filing this rule as a temporary administrative rule and approve initiation of that permanent rulemaking process where we went through the proposed rule change and we're here today. The executive committee approved both of those actions. DPSST filed the temporary rule right away. It has been in effect since August 27th and would expire on February 22nd of 2026, if not permanently adopted. DPSST filed the proposed rule change in September to initiate the process and the public comment period. The public comment period was open from September 2nd through October 31st. It included an opportunity for an in-person hearing, and DPSST did not receive any written or oral comments on the proposed rule change. Adopting the rule would not have a fiscal impact. So DPSST's recommendation is to adopt Oregon Administrative Rule 259-030-0005 as a permanent rule. If the board votes to approve adoption of the rule, DPSST will complete the final step in the permanent rulemaking process and would file it effective after the board's approval so that it replaces the temporary rule permanently. Your action item is on page 6 for motion, vote, and approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions? This did generate some discussion back in August, and lack of comments, I think, speaks for the rule. So I will make a motion to permanently adopt the OAR.
Or Daniel, second?
Right, we're voting on a motion to approve the proposed rule changes for Oregon Administrative Rules 259-030-0005. Chair Cotting.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heppel.
Aye.
Member Bennett.
Aye.
Member Cameron.
Aye.
Member Carragher.
Aye.
Member Daniel. Fletcher.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Jones.
Aye.
Member Lenza. Aye. Member Lynch.
Aye.
Member Morneau.
Aye.
Member Reese.
Aye.
Member Reese-Stein.
Aye.
And Member Williams.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Jennifer Howell for the record. My final agenda item for you today is dealing with formation of a work group. And there was a memo that outlined some of that information. DPSST is seeking the board's approval to form discipline-specific work groups to review law enforcement officer maintenance training requirements. Those are located in Administrative Rule 259-008-0065. The memo includes an outline of the current maintenance training requirements that apply to police officers, corrections officers, parole and probation officers, and OLCC regulatory specialists. We've identified several factors that elevate the need to make this a timely review of the standards. First, the standards and processes haven't been reviewed in their entirety since 2015. Since that comprehensive review. Several additions have been made throughout the years due to legislative requirements and other recommendations. We've also find that a combination of annual requirements within a 3-year requirement is a large administrative task internally for the tracking and the communication, making sure that everyone is completing those within the required timelines as they're outlined in the administrative rule. Additionally, this rule needs to be amended to reflect some maintenance training requirements for parole and probation officers that were initiated in 2022 under Senate Bill 1510. And we started a process to review that with the policy committees back in 2022. Both the Police Policy Committee and Corrections Policy Committee found value in the training topics. Just for reference, those training topics were providing trauma-informed care, culturally specific services, and de-escalation techniques. But they also, both of those committees, recognized that the current maintenance requirements already have so many specified topics and specified training hours that if we just inserted these 3 new topics with specific hours, then we've taken away from the general hours that are available to agencies for agencies to deliver their own agency-specific needed training as a part of that maintenance training as a whole. So there are several factors that bringing forward. We would go to a work group for each discipline and request they review the existing standards and affirm or make recommended discipline-specific changes. And then those changes would be presented to the corresponding Corrections and Police Policy Committee. Any changes that are recommended go through that policy review process, the proposed rule change process for public comment, and board approval before any implementation. So there's quite a lengthy period and opportunity to communicate with constituents on pending changes. So for your action item on page 2, we just request approval to form those discipline-specific work groups. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, for a motion, a second.
I have a quick question.
Sorry.
Jennifer Cameron, how are the committees determined? Like, how is it determined who's going to be on these committees?
Sure. Thank you, Jennifer Hall, for the record. We typically do an announcement of the formation of the work group to allow people to submit applications of interest, as well as members from the Corrections and Police Policy Committees are welcome to volunteer for those individualized committees. So we would be looking for a specific, probably representation from, like if we were looking at the parole and probation one, we'd be looking for OACCD representation. We'd probably ask you.
Just curious.
Yeah,
That's what I was asked. A lot of time invested in
Mhm.
my, dear to me, so.
Absolutely. So taking applications for interest and then trying to make sure that we've included representation from large agencies, small agencies, regional and
So lots of stakeholders.
correct.
Thanks.
Any additional questions? Okay. Motion.
Mike Reese for the record. So moved.
Jack Carrier, second. We're voting on a motion to approve the work group or Rules Advisory Committee request as presented. Chair Cotting?
Aye.
Vice Chair Happel?
Aye.
Member Bennett?
Aye.
Member Cameron?
Aye.
Member Carriger?
Aye.
Member Daniel?
Aye.
Member Fletcher?
Aye.
Member Johnson?
Aye.
Member Jones?
Aye.
Member Lenzen?
Aye.
Member Lynch?
Aye.
Member Morneau?
Aye.
Member Reese?
Aye.
Member Reese?
Aye.
And Member Williams?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, up next is item G, position of civil penalties, House Bill 2527.
Thank you very much, Marie. For the record, I'm going to give just a brief introduction to both agenda items G and H on the DPSST recommendations section. So with these agenda items, we are seeking to impose civil penalties on private security entities for lack of compliance under House Bill 2527 and Senate Bill 300. The reason why these appear in this section as opposed to in the Private Security Policy Committee section is because the board has the authority to impose those penalties. So they weren't previously considered by the Private Security Policy Committee before coming to you. You have first line of review. The staff reports that detail the entities and rationale for imposing these penalties begin on about page 84 of the materials. So you've had the opportunity to review the entities in question and the reasons behind the imposition of the penalties for seeking. Just to summarize, all of the entities in question have been out of compliance for well over a calendar year. There have been ample opportunities to provide mitigation or negotiate some sort of resolution in the middle to allow them to achieve a compliance state, and those have been unsuccessful. So these are not actions that the agency takes lightly or without trying as hard as we can to work with the entities in question. If there are any questions about items G or H, we do have Susie Herring and Michael Holstapple here from the private security team, who can clarify, anything that's detailed in the reports. Otherwise, because you are the first line of review, we need to take these one at a time as individual votes, beginning with item G. Are there any questions before we ask for a motion? Yes.
Margie, what's the record? Entities are there in Oregon?
In general, that's a question. Do you have an idea?
Active or in?
Active
right
entities?
now.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions before motion on item G?
Okay, looking for a motion on G.
Sam Willis for the record, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Voting to approve the imposition of civil penalties for House Bill 2527, Chair Cotting.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heppel.
Aye.
Member Bennett.
Aye.
Member Cameron.
Aye.
Member Carriger.
Aye.
Member Daniel.
Aye.
Member Fletcher.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Jones.
Aye.
Member Latson.
Aye.
Member Lynch.
Aye.
Member Morneau.
Aye.
Member Reese.
Aye.
Stefan.
Aye.
And Member Willis.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much, Juan. This is Maria Atwood again for the record. Same process with agenda item H, House Bill 2527 and Senate Bill 300. So it authorizes the imposition of civil penalties for these cases. Are there any questions before requesting a vote or a motion and a second on item H? Okay.
Okay, seeing no questions, so looking for motion and a second on item H.
Mark Daniel for the record, so moved.
Mike Fletcher, second.
Right, we're voting on a motion to approve to approve the imposition of civil penalties for House Bill 2527 and Senate Bill 300. Chair Cotting.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heppel.
Aye.
Member Bennett.
Aye.
Member Cameron.
Aye.
Member Carriger.
Aye.
Member Daniel.
Aye.
Member Fletcher.
Aye.
Member Johnson.
Aye.
Member Jones.
Aye.
Aye.
Member Lynch.
Aye.
Member Morneau.
Aye.
Member Reese.
Aye.
Member Reese Temple.
Aye.
And Member Willis.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Agency updates, Agency Director Phil Castle.
Thank you, Chair Cotting. Phil Castle for the record. I always like to start off before these and just thank everyone for being here. All of you have incredibly busy careers and jobs, and I'm really grateful that you're here. This is a heavy burden that you bear to be on this board and to have participate, those of you who participate in policy committees as well. I'm aware of that. There's a lot of reading. There's some tough decisions to make, and I really appreciate that you're willing to do that and you show up for this. So it's definitely not lost, and you're doing a great service to the state of Oregon. So thank you. I also want to thank the staff. A lot of work goes into these committee meetings and the board meetings and so forth, and I'm really grateful to them for the work that they do and their professionalism. So thank you. I want to first start off, I was listening to Chris' brief, and I'm also grateful for the DPSST leadership team. We are a stable leadership team. The people who are in these positions, including the incredible leaders to my right and left. It is a really, really good team. It makes my life a lot easier to have these professionals next to me and who are really doing the hard work of this agency and serving Oregon as you would expect them to. So really proud of them. And I want to give particularly Chris Enquist a shout out. When I got here, we were spending about $80,000 a month, anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 a month in overtime. We now spend about anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month on average, sometimes higher. I know. But that was all Chris Enquist's work. And we did that by maintaining our and still maintaining our two guiding principles, which are safety, number one, and number two is quality. And every employee of DPSST knows those guiding principles. You can walk up to any one of them and ask them, and they'll be able to tell you that. So when I ask questions or we walk around the agency and I say, hey, can we do that with less? They'll say, not without compromising one or two. And so they know it. It's their priority, and I'm appreciative of that. The Public Safety Cabinet met the other day, earlier this week, and the Public Safety Cabinet for the governor consists of agencies at this table, including OSP, OSFM, DOC down the table. And for the first time, since I've been here in the seat, which is almost 3 years now, we got to meet at the Capitol building in the governor's ceremonial conference room, which was a first for me. Kind of got lost trying to get in there, but we were in there, which was really neat. And consequently, the governor stopped by and met with us for a few minutes and reaffirmed her commitment to public safety while in the room, which of course we all really appreciate. We are every state agency is looking forward to the February 4th economic forecast that will be published by the state. I'm quite sure the short session of the legislature is going to be really waiting on that, and it'll be used in the decisions they make as budget adjustments are considered in this short session. All agencies were asked to do a 2.5% and 5% cost cut analysis if we had to do that, and we have submitted all of those, and we will be awaiting the legislature's determination on that. So all state agencies are potentially exposed to that. Know that we have done a really good job communicating with our legislators about the potential impacts of that. And all public safety agencies run lean. We all run lean, and the legislature is aware of that. I don't want to try and predict any outcomes, but I will just tell you that there's been good communication with our legislators and the governor's office about our status and really what those impacts would be. We are doing a lot to become as efficient as we possibly can be without compromising our guiding principles. Those are very important to us. Oregon expects quality service as well as quality products that come out of this training institution, as well as our professional standards division, and so forth, every service that we provide. And we're doing things, we've done, our Center for Policing Excellence has done a staffing study, which kicked us off into an assessment of whether or not we are appropriately staffed here. That doesn't kind of compute right off the bat when I say that. How hard would it be, Phil, to understand if you're properly staffed? Well, when you need a drastically different amount of people on your campus every single day, it's complex. When you're running 5 or 6 classes at a time with different training venues and different sources of expertise needed on every given day, it's a really tough question to answer. And our staff have done a really good job at answering that question, and I feel pretty comfortable in saying that we have answered the question. And we've come out with a balance of how many full-time employees do you need versus how many part-time employees do you need. And we have found, and in my opinion at this moment, I believe we have enough full-time employee positions on board. We need a greater amount of part-time trainers and loans. Like if I were to have more full-time employees, specifically in the training division, and this may make the training division director here cringe a little bit, but there would be days where they wouldn't be doing anything. There would be days when they were doing everything, right? So having those part-time trainers to fill in on those high volume days is really, really important. And having the funding to be able to do that is really important. So for example, we are currently funded for 4.5 FTEs worth of part-time trainers. We use anywhere from 13 to 14 a month on average. And as efficient as we can possibly be, that number is not likely to go down very much. So what's happening is we're shunting money from other places to be able to afford that. So this staffing study has revealed that. Also, we're doing a bunch of work to cost out our programs, meaning how much does a basic police class cost? How much does a corrections class cost? How much does parole and probation cost, or armed parole and probation cost? The rising cost of ammunition. We shoot a million rounds a year on this campus, right? The cost of ammunition is going up substantially, and we can't siphon down the amount that we use. So costing that all out and having a good cost model that we can present to the governor's office and the legislature at the beginning of next long session is going to be really important to right-size DPSST and make, and be transparent about those costs. So that work is underway, and it's that work particularly is pretty close to being done. Let's see. This place doesn't run without partnerships. It doesn't. And I'm really grateful, and I want to call some of those partnerships out that I've done in the past. One, Chair Cotting, OSP's partnership. We couldn't do it without OSP. And I'll give you an example of that. DAS was running short on cars. And as you know, we have a track that we run, and those vehicles are not lightly used, I will tell you. They're heavily used, and they have some tough miles on them. And we were unable to get the amount of cars that we needed with the volume of students that we train right now. Superintendent Cotting was able to provide us some loaner cars that we are still using. So that's just an example of one of the ways that we've partnered. Also want to thank Director Reese for the partnership. If you look out our back window here and look up on that hill and see how clean that is up there, that's because of his support and his teams over here helping us get rid of fuel. Fire Marshal, just saying. Get rid of fuel. We had a fire get pretty close to us last year that got a little scary, and that fuel up there wouldn't have been a good thing. So thank you very much, Director Reese, for that. Also, Chief Ruiz Temple, she is a big supporter of this agency, and we partner on a ton of things. So I'm grateful for your partnership as well. And I want to bring up a blast from the past. Eric Skablix. I know a lot of you know him. I talk to him all the time. He's been a great mentor for me. He has an unbelievable memory. He remembers everything. I had a history question for him last night, and I was able to talk to him, and he always makes himself available, and he still cares a lot about this place and somehow knows everything that's going on in these walls still. So he's been a great partner as well. I want to call out Kayla Ballrot too. Kayla's done an amazing job with our fire program. And for the first time that we know about, we're going to have ladder truck training coming up next week. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. So Gresham Fire will be here for 4 days next week, and part of their training that they're going to do here will be not only in the village area, kind of out, past where everyone can see, but they'll also be just around campus practicing aerial ladder extensions toward building and retracting them. So they'll be very visible on campus and practicing with various sizes and heights of buildings. So that's very exciting to see.
Very excited about that. It's good to see Red on this campus, and to have them out and training on the venues and all over the campus. So really pleased about that. I want to talk about the employee survey. All state agencies have to do this. We survey our employees to find out how we're doing. Last year, we did our employee survey, and we were one of the top agencies in the state for employee engagement, which was really great. This year, we did it again, and our results came out still high, but we did dip. Our numbers have dipped a little bit, and I will attribute that to budget stress as one of those things. Our employees are definitely feeling the budget stress as we are employing cost-saving measures. That's can be hard on the staff. They are committed to quality. That's what they want to give all of our students and for any of our customers that we serve. So it's tough for them when they're restricted with equipment or training to stay relevant on that. And, you know, they feel the general stress as well. Also, we had some leadership changes happen, and there's some change management involved in that where we struggled. I do want to reassure the board that the ELT takes that, the executive leadership team and our management takes that very seriously, and we'll be developing plans to address our dip in our results, and we're going to be actively working on those things to improve our results for next year. And that'll include getting direct feedback from our staff, which I'll be doing immediately after this meeting. We have the director's coffee talk once a month, where I am down in the staff dining room, and all staff can come. They can ask any question they want. They can make any comment they want, and I generally just give them an update about things that are going on in the legislature, and so forth, and then kick off some conversation and get feedback from them during those things. Barring that, I will look to my right, to the better of the two of us, to see if the deputy director has any comments.
Well, between you and Chris, you've covered it a lot, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I will emphasize one key point, and that is about agency loans. I think I brought it up last time we met, and I want to be very intentional in our outreach about what our needs are on those loans, so that we're clearly telling you where our areas are. But in order for us to reduce the overtime, naturally the APT hours went up. And so if you think about it, we used in 2024 and 2025, 25,000 hours of people coming in part-time. A lot of it is in our skills venue. Some of it is their subject matter expert in very specific topics. But that comes out to about 1.5 million. And I wouldn't say DOC has been great bringing agency loans, but we really need to kind of reach out to our constituents, especially in the CJ side, and see if people are now getting closer to being fully staffed and able to actually bring some loans. Because not only does it give the relationship and the ability to go back to your home agency and say, hey, I like this training. For example, when I was in Tigard, I sent my firearms expert to go and work for a whole 16-week. Loved the firearms program, came back, implemented it in Tigard, and that was a nice thing. So please look for us to reach out about agency loans. I just want to be able to articulate the areas that we need, and hopefully you can free up some of your subject matter experts who usually have a passion for that particular topic and can think about sending them our way. So other than that, appreciate everything. More to come.
I'm going to turn it over to Marie here in just a second, but I want to open up for any questions that the board may have of me before I do that.
Lindsay, for the record, how many humans is 14 FTE part-time?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a cumulative number. So all of our APTs work very different sets of hours in a month. So in a month, it could be.
I think the last month I looked was we had 79 different personnel for that month. And then that's not counting role players that do come in on some of those skills venues that we do. So these are just part-time instructors.
that number can fluctuate from month to month based on what training is happening in that month and the overlapping schedules.
Mike Reese for the record. Director, the short session that's coming up is mainly focused on budget issues, but are you aware of any bills that may impact DPSST that are being proposed that we should be tracking as advocates for the agency?
I'm not aware. We're not been called to testify this session. I'm not aware specifically of any bills that would directly affect us. I mean, that there are general, law enforcement bills that are out there that we will obviously be keeping our eyes on, just like you and OSP and so forth. But
thank you.
Thanks for the question. Okay. Seeing no other hands, turn it over to Ernie.
Thank you, Marie Atwood for the record. On the topic of surveys, we will soon be sending out the annual director's survey. Probably in February, I think. Okay. So date TBD, and there'll be, a period of time to be filling that out and considering it, but just wanted to give you all the heads up that, Phil will be in the hot seat soon. So looking forward to that. I also just want to echo everything the director said about thanking you for your time and efforts, thanking our staff for their time and efforts. I happened to have a team meeting with one of my units yesterday, and one of the things we did was kind of do a retrospective of 2025 to see what our workloads had looked like comparatively to 2024. And I can tell you, in the world of rules and standards and certification, things are consistently going up. We processed about 2,000 certifications in 2025. The number of cases that were open for professional standards violations increased by about 15-20%. The number of cases you heard increased by about 15-20%. The number of denials and revocations is going up, and the number of administrative hearings that we have to then source out to DOJ and finance has also increased substantially. So the work is becoming more voluminous, and we are asking our staff and you to do that with, no increase in the amount of seconds in the day or increase in personnel. So I'm really proud of my team, and I'm really grateful to the community and constituents that work with every day. On the horizon, there are, as you can see at the end of your board book from today's meeting, there are a whole bunch of 5-year update reports that we had to file with the legislature at the end of 2025. Those largely involve our either changes or implementation of new administrative rules. So just gives an overview of what we implemented at some point within the last 5 years and how it's been going since that time. So those materials are all at your disposal. And just to give you a bit of a forecast for our upcoming board and committee meetings, we are going to be proposing a pretty substantial amount of rule changes in the next round of policy committees that deal directly with our moral fitness standards. So there will be probably a little bit more homework than maybe you're used to on the rules side of things, but it's really, really important work. And it took about 2 years for our moral fitness work group to get to the point where we're ready to propose these rule changes. A lot of thought and a lot of effort went into the process. So otherwise, I think that's really all I have from the professional standards world. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you. Any comments, follow-ups? As I listened to Marie talk through that increase, it strikes me, I don't know that our FTE in public safety is increasing at that same rate. So that's something for those of us in leadership to look at, like, why are these numbers going up? And what do we need to do about that? Because they should, in theory, hopefully be going the other way. Sir.
Mike Fletcher for the record. So jumping on both those comments, something that I frequently remind our community, the 911 community, and I appreciate someone from the press being here, because in our current environment in this country, there's a lot of angst, and you could pick up any paper and read criticism about law enforcement not being trained properly, exceeding their limits of authority, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's very easy to see that. But I want to make a point that this state holds people accountable. And everybody that serves on a policy committee, our caseloads are going up, which means that we don't ignore those problems, that we do take action and hold people accountable.
I'll actually piggyback on that. This is Marie Atwood again for the record. That's 100% true. I think the standards we hold our public safety professionals to in Oregon are a reflection of why we're seeing a lot of compliance work and a lot of cases being processed. I also know that my team has done a whole lot of work to get what was a pretty large backlog under them. So processing more cases with fewer resources, because we don't want these to sit around. We don't want people working out in the field who shouldn't be, and we don't want people whose professions are in purgatory who deserve resolution. So
100%.
And Catherine McAlpine, for the record, to piggyback on that, as I've handed the baton off to Marie, she will be finishing up the annual report. Again, it's just law enforcement on actions taken, revocations, but it does do a great job of doing patterns and trends. So Superintendent, to your kind of comment, last time the board and many of the committees wanted to see that report, so which we provided, which hopefully then will be kind of telling about where we're trending or why, what things are happening. You know, is it the 5-10 year mark? Is it early on? Things of that nature. And the same with the economic sanctions. Again, just for police, but it is telling. And I know Marie's doing that analysis has to be basically hand done to really recall what it was that happened, so that the analysis can give you some insight as to where we're trending as profession.
Corey Jones for the record. From a public member standpoint, I share some of these experiences with just random people, friends of mine. And it makes a difference when they go, somebody's watching over this. I mean, it's pretty exciting for me I get excited about lots of things, but I get excited about this and telling people about it. And they all of a sudden look like they're happy about it. I don't know if we really do much of a public effort to let people know that this group has done such a great job, and it has. I really appreciate being part of this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thanks for everyone for prioritizing this time and for making public safety a better entity in the state. So with that, unless there's anything else, staff or any members, the next meeting is April 23rd this year. It'll be 9 a.m., same location, and look forward to seeing you all in a few months.